So, hello, welcome back. Yeah, welcome back to today's six records. Six records. I've been hearing a lot now in the vinyl room with customers, and that really hit me, and I really enjoyed listening to them. And so I wanted to share those records with you because I think they are quite special, and have a great story in most cases to tell. But first and foremost, of course, those are wonderful first pressings and originals and an amazing listening. So let's start. Let's start with the Yardbirds For Your Love. Here you can see the jacket. I put off the sleeve so that you can see it perfectly here. Cover art, the back side. This is the first US pressing. I show you also, of course, the label of the record, and this is, to my knowledge, the first album that came out in the US, and it was compiled throughout their big hit For Your Love. Also, the album starts with For Your Love. And let me see when the album came out, otherwise you will get the information in a second. It's a stereo album. Yeah, it's stereo. And as artists, they name Keith Relf, Chris Drea, Paul Samuel Smith, Jim McCarthy, and Jeff Beck. On a lot of those songs, to my knowledge, we also have Eric Clapton in the big hit For Your Love. He only plays, I think, in the middle part, but on, I think, 8 other tracks he's playing. The guy who is named here, Jeff Beck, he is on three songs on that album. And I think that Eric Clapton left the band also because For Your Love, the success song on that album, he didn't like it. It was too much of a hit machinery, so he left because he wanted to stick with the blues, and songs like For Your Love have been too commercial for him, at least what I've heard about that. And so Jeff Beck took over, and yeah, we know how history went on. And yeah, this Yardbirds album, especially as an first pressing, as an original, in this quality, in this condition, yeah, I think that's quite something, really quite something. And yeah, it's a very enjoyable listening, and of course historically extremely interesting to listen to. So the next one, yeah, that is quite a story, an unbelievable, interesting record. I had 2 versions here in the vinyl room and also on the vinyl room online shop. One sealed, which is this one, and another one that were open. So now I only can show you the sealed one, but no matter what, the record 1970 US original pressing is that we have here. Yeah, Outlaw, Eugene McDaniels. I show you the record again because I really do love the cover, and the cover perfectly suits the history behind that album. Before Eugene McDaniels became the Outlaw, he was a quite popular and successful artist. He had quite some hits, and with this album, he became a totally different person. This album is very political, extremely political, and totally different in a way to what he has done before. Here we have a funk, jazz, prog, country elements on that album, which makes it an extremely interesting album and musically very tempting. especially when you consider that nobody less than Ron Carter is also part of this record. A very exciting record, a very exciting change in the life of an artist. And what's also quite interesting and intriguing is that the band plays the music in a very calm and smooth way for the very most parts. And that combined with those extremely political and controversial texts that Eugene, I think when he was the softer one, he was Gene, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, what Eugene McDaniels sings here when it comes to the lyrics, wow, that's extreme. And this is a very interesting contrast when you hear the band playing. And of course, you know me, I don't know how it is with you. When I hear the name Ron Carter, I'm already interested. So this is a real 70s jazz, rock, funk, soul jam. I think it also got forgotten quite fast, and now of course it's a relatively rare item and hard to find. So I'm of course very pleased to have that in the Vinyl Room online shop and here in Düsseldorf. Not a record that you see in so many cases, and especially not in a sealed condition, which is really quite something. Okay, next album, Giant. What's in this life for you? Again, 1970, US, on Mercury. Here you see the cover art. And yeah, wait, again, I put off the sleeve so that you can see. What a cover, right? Look at that. Look at that. Amazing. That was, I remember when Thomas Busk showed that album in the stream, I was totally intrigued by that cover art, and when we got it, I put it immediately on the turntable. And yeah, Giant, don't mix it up with a hard rock band. This is a record with 9 musicians. We have 9 amazing people playing here. The genre is funk, pop, rock, jazz. Almost not to define in a way. It's an for me an album where it's extremely difficult to say, okay, that is this and this and this genre. Almost impossible in my opinion, but a brilliant album. As I said, 9 musicians, so you can expect a lot of changes and a lot of action in that album. And especially on the very first song, the guy who sings on the very first song, Think What's in This Life for You, he reminded me very, very much on the young Frank Zappa. And all of the people who were present when we played that said, oh, I said, oh, is that Zeppelin? And I said, no, cannot be. But this is an outstanding album, and again, one of those gems I would not have been aware if it would not be for Thomas Busk. But give this one a chance. Listen to this album. It's really, 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 really worth your time. Amazing. An amazing album. Okay, the next album is Coldwater Stone, Defrost Me. Show you, of course, the album. Here you go. I show you the label. Here you go. Oops, wrong side. So, and I show you the back side. Here you go. So, and what you see is one person. And I thought at the when I first time saw the record, I said, okay, Coldwater Stone, what band is this? And it's not a band. It's one person. It's Freddie Briggs. And Freddie Briggs gives us again, rock, funk, soul masterpiece from 1973. And you know, this is one of those soul albums I really, really do like, because it has edges, it has a certain roughness and a soul in the literal sense, and not somebody complaining about the weather or that he's alone right now. No, real edges, a real toughness, a real, yeah, a real way that gets you into the music, and that's what I really, really do appreciate when it comes to this recording. So I quite often said, no, I'm not so much into soul, but now that I get more and more records like Coldwater Stone, I dig deeper and deeper into it, especially when there is real soul to it, you know, probably what I mean. And I think Coldwater Stone, Freddie Briggs on that album really delivers. So another recommendation for you, if you don't know it, to get into very, very interesting 70s funk soul. Amazing, amazing example. Now we get into something really, really crazy special. This record is already sold, but I asked the person who bought it if I'm allowed to talk about it in a video. And we are talking about Unlimited Soul. Here you have the label. And this is a private press from 1982 from the United Kingdom. So the cover is generic. As I said, it's a private press release, 1982 UK. And again, very, very, very difficult to describe. We have a jazzy, funky experience at its very best. It's an EP. We only have 3 songs on it, and as it already got almost no recognition when it came out, I guess, this has become an extremely, extremely rare item. It's so hard to find, and we listened to it here in the vinyl room, and it was from the very first 3 seconds so convincing that one of the visitors said, "Okay, I take that. What is that?" It's one of those albums. If you like it, you love it. And again, I remember when Thomas Bus showed it on the Thursday streams on the German channel, the Vinyl Room Plattenparty. Also DJ Zocchi, who was the other part of it, said, "Oh, I know that. Oh, this is crazy. I've never ever seen that in 30 years." And yeah, of course, Thomas had it, and I said, "Come on, please, be so kind, send it to Düsseldorf so we all can hear it and can make our own experience." And yeah, he did. I put it on, and yeah, then it was gone. But I totally understand that this is really quite something. Really, really very interesting. An amazing piece of art. And yeah, at least I could hear it one time. And congrats to the guy who owns that, yeah, masterpiece in a way. Okay, and now let's talk about a record that for the last couple of weeks has been the hymn of the brick and mortar record store. I'm talking about Old Dirty Bastard, Return to the 36 Chambers. The dirty version. Here you go. Yeah, double album. And as I said, whenever I put that on, the whole vinyl room is shaking and moving to the rhythm. What's very interesting, in my opinion, I learned that is that what you see here is the food card of Russell Jones, former member of the Wu-Tang Clan, in his first solo album. And yeah, Shimmy Shimmy Oh, that's the song we are always playing, and this is so cool. And I remember one of the regular visitors also loved it, but said, the original, the US first pressing here is is a little bit over my budget, and so he bought an reissue, and he brought it here to the vinyl room. And of course, we did a comparison here on the equipment we have, which is nothing special. Let's call it decent. But it's as we do a lot of those comparison, you can do it on this one. So it works quite good in my opinion. Yeah, and we did the comparison, and we all got very disappointed by the reissue. Not because of the fact that the original, the US first pressing, is way better. That happens, and we are really used to that in a way. But the difference was way too big, considering that this album came out in 1995, and the reissue and the original is not that far apart, and also other reasons that comes to mind why it shouldn't be that different. But there was no love put into that reissue, which is of course extremely disappointing when it comes to those important releases, because this is, in my personal opinion, a milestone when it comes to hip hop, and putting out such an reissue without any care and love. Also the jacket, the cover art, that was simply nothing, just nothing, and that was very disappointing. But nevertheless, that album as an original is so lively, has so much punch, is so much fun, so much enjoyment, and very special record. So that was one of the many reasons that I was very eager to talk about this record in a video to you. Yeah, which I have done by now. So that's that. Yeah. So 6 records, if I haven't made a mistake in my calculation. All different, but not totally different in my opinion, because in a way all of those 6 records did something like, how can I put it? They came out and didn't do it the expected way. They did it different. Yet, on their own, they all made it until to now, over decades in some cases, and still have their standing among fans, music lovers, and record lovers. Okay, that being said, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.